All right, welcome everybody to our Couch Caucus episode for the last sort of regular day of legislative session. I'm here with actual people on my sofa, which is very exciting. I have Brooke Abdullah and Ethan Marsland, who have been hanging out here during session as they work in the legislature or with the legislature. And then of course we've got Bree in her sofa, all alone on the other side of town. How's it going, Bree?
It's going. I'm not totally alone. We can probably guarantee that Helena will video bomb us as usual.
That's true.
Some point too. Yeah,
that is true. So yeah, this last week of session, it always feels like a million things happen, and I feel like a million things happened this week.
Yeah, it's like, and the week isn't even over, but it feels like it was like 2 or 3 weeks merged into one. This was kind of a crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Monday alone felt like 3 days. So we've reached sort of the end of the regular calendar. We've talked before about how bills get sent to the 41st day, which, doesn't exist because we've got 40 days in the legislative session. And so the only thing left after this is veto day, which is on March 29th, where the legislature, veto day. Which honestly, do we think Christina was going to veto anything? Is she?
So we don't know, and we probably won't know for at least another few days, if not a week or so, what she will for sure be vetoing. But we know just based on what we know about her and where she sits on certain things, we have about 3 or 4 that we think she probably will veto when veto day comes. But like I said, we don't know for sure just yet. She's still working through signing all the bills that get to her desk and kind of reviewing what's kind of the final product of the session yet. So, but there's always a couple that she'll veto. And so at that point, then the legislature would have the option to allow her to veto whatever bill, or they can vote to override that at that time.
Yeah, now I'm actually really curious what's going to happen with 1217, because I'm so excited about this bill. And then suddenly today, and I thought she was going to sign it today, actually. Totally thought it was going to happen. And I actually really thought it was going to happen during her Zoom with the Republican women or whatever thing she was Zooming with today. And then I was like, oh, that would totally be where she would do that. And then she didn't. And now she's kind of doing this whole, well, I need to give it consideration, but she's qualifying it like, oh, but we do that with every bill, And so now I'm kind of like, I wonder what's going on there. So it sparked a little bit of hope. Sparked a little bit of hope, but we'll see what happens.
This is an instance in which it looks like corporate America did step up to the plate and decided to be responsible.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? So I was thinking about Amazon, NCAA, other kind of the corporate kind of piece in terms of who's kind of putting on a little bit of pressure, but which, I'm all for it. So anyway, that today, and then the other thing interesting today in terms of her press conference this morning was all of she's just like clutching her pearls about the pot. It's all.
Oh man. Yeah. House Bill 1100. That was amazing. It was, yeah. So the legislative shenanigans this week, obviously 1217, that was the Fairness in Women's or Fairness in Girls Sports bill, which the press conference this morning, anytime anybody asked her a question about how does this discriminate against trans people, or do you realize that this discriminates against trans people? And she was like, it's not about transgender individuals, it's about girls sports. She was very much trying to not say the word trans out loud at a press conference. So that bill is one that it failed in Senate committee, and everyone was super excited that happened, and then it got smoked out on the Senate floor and fucking passed. This has been, I think, the session of the smoke out. So, and I, said it last week, I'll say it again, if you're anti-trans individuals and feel like shitting on them in the state of South Dakota, my tent is not big enough for you to be in it, and please, get the fuck out. You know, trans rights are human rights, and, you know, we support and affirm our trans friends, family, and neighbors, and we need to fight hard for them in this state.
So just something real quick with smoke out too, that I've noticed just this session and last session that's used a little bit, or been used a little bit more than I would say it normally would. So the committee process is set up in such a way that every bill gets a hearing. So no matter how, you know, crazy or whatever it is, if you are a legislator and you write a bill, you get a chance to have it heard in committee. It used to be that the president pro tem or the speaker of the house could say, no, we're not going to take this, or we're not going to take that. But it is set up so that every bill does get a hearing. And so the process of smoking out a bill, you know, really should be reserved for an instance where, for whatever reason, there was a significant piece of legislation that just didn't make it out of committee that needs another chance on the floor. And what we're seeing happen is that the more extreme pieces of legislation that do go down in committee, as they should, the smokeout process is being used to bring those bills back. And it's kind of, you know, there's even been comments made on the floor during the smokeout process of like, hey, if this is how we're going to do this, then, you know, I have 10 bills that died in committee that I could just reconsider and try to smoke them out on the floor if we're going to do this for every single bill that gets killed. So just something, I guess, anecdotal that I have noticed. It is being used for probably not its intended purpose, and a little more than it should be used.
Yeah, and isn't another thing with the smokeout process that when the motion comes up for a bill to get smoked out, it's what, a third of the people that are on the floor that have to say, yes, we want this to be smoked out, and they stand for that vote. So it's not a roll call vote. So it's hard to like track down who the people are that are saying, yes, this needs to be smoked out.
Right. And that's, I mean, yeah. So if you're ever listening on, you know, SDPB or SD.net or whatever, during the process of a smokeout, the prime sponsor of the bill obviously will make that motion. And so the president will say, is he or is she supported? And you won't hear anything, because at that point, anybody who wants to support the smoking out of that bill will just simply stand, and the president will just count. You can look at how many stood up later, but I don't think that they put the names in the minutes of who stood up. So that's, I mean, if you're curious, you know, ask somebody who's there on the floor to let you know who it was or something like that. But you won't hear it on, if you're listening online.
Usually a full recording of both chamber sessions that are played at about 2 a.m. on SDPB. So, and those should be archived somewhere. So you should be able to find out exactly who it was, even if you gotta squint and make out the name on the desk.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, yes, we can figure out who it was that stood, but it is an arduous process. And honestly, for how much, like, where he said that the smokeout is getting used, like that part of it, I feel like should have way more transparency, because we as South Dakota voters should know who it is that is abusing this process.
Well, the same people every time.
Right.
So that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
One last note on 1217. This is a bit of a messaging note. It's a thing we've heard from some of the members, especially in the House. Kind of the word is we're not going to call it by the bill number. We're not going to call it by its actual title. This is the Child Genital Registration Act. And that is language that's actually getting used, and people are starting to use it now. So like that's what would be, you know,
the Child Genital Registration. That is a mouthful.
Yeah.
I get the idea though behind that, because it really does take, I mean, that is the language in the bill, like as playing a girl's sport, like you have to essentially
It doesn't, and that part isn't just about girls' sports. That if you participate in South Dakota High School Activities Association sponsored events.
Oh shit, that's like debate too.
I don't know if debate is covered. I don't know if academics are covered in it. I'd have to double check on the language in the bill, but they plausibly could be. You have to submit registration. Doesn't matter what your gender is, doesn't matter what your sex is. If you are a kid in high school sports, you have to submit a piece of registration paperwork for your genitals.
Right.
That's how this bill works.
That actually brings up an interesting point, Amanda, because typically districts use the same paperwork for registering for activities for fine arts as they do for sports. I mean, the district I taught in was the exact same paperwork. If you wanted to be on the speech team, it's the same paperwork you use for sports minus the physical. So I'm guessing maybe they attach it to that and then it just becomes part of the medical documentation that you provide. But I mean, and as a mom with a kid in school who played sports, and probably my younger one might eventually, that's the part too that really just upsets me in terms of just this insane invasion of privacy and potential harm to to kids, right? I mean, it's just that's the part too that just astounds me. And then, but the way the law is written, then it would apply to college too, right? So it's not just K-12. It's any publicly funded program in the state. So that would include residential schools and the technical colleges.
I think it's just South Dakota High School Activities Association, but I might be wrong about that. But regardless, like either way, it is really, really bad. And on another messaging note, I know there are some people that it is really hard to talk to about this particular subject who are like, they like to go around calling themselves socially conservative or, I believe in traditional family values. And like, they don't like to talk about, trans people in general. Actually, a good way to get those people on board is say, like, this is literally a state official walking into your local high school and asking to look down shorts and up skirts. That is what this is.
Depending on the conservative family values, though, they might be okay with that.
Yeah.
Small government.
Woo!
Yeah. But no, this is big government at its worst. They are literally going to look up your daughter's skirt. That is what they're doing with this bill.
Yeah.
That is Ethan, that is one of the ironies, because then, at the same time, there's this huge, then there was the homeschool bill, which passed, and the governor's, gleefully signed with a photo op with homeschool families, I think yesterday. And, again, here's a group of people, predominantly very, very conservative, who are crying foul about invasion of privacy because they have to show their birth certificate to register their kid for homeschooling, or, any number of things in terms of government invasion in their lives to make those decisions as a parent. And then there's a bill like this where you have to and that's the irony, because the homeschool one would allow homeschool kids to play sports without having to be in the district. And they're going to be subjected to the same kind of, so that it is kind of interesting. It's just one of those things where it's just like the craziness in terms of kind of how things just keep spiraling and ridiculousness is like, that's the part it kind of makes me dizzy. It's kind of like the abortion bills where, the shit sandwich with the, we're going to give you counseling and we're going to do this. And then in between, it's like abortion's murder.
Yeah.
You can't have an abortion. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like this, we're going to give you hospice care, but, oh wait, no, you can't actually let your baby die.
Well, and in her, think of the children messaging as well. At her press conference this morning, she was also talking about House Bill 1100, which, since that one failed, that means that Initiated Measure 26, which was the medical marijuana initiative, is going into effect July 1st as the voters intended. And Governor Noem really made sure to emphasize that any problems with IM 26 are because it's poorly written and the voters did this. So she's putting, any issues that happened with the medical marijuana program, she is firmly throwing those back on the South Dakota voters, which is interesting because Ethan, I think you said the other night that IM 26 won in every county except for 3.
Yes, Douglas County, Hockin County, and Harding County.
I was going to say, I knew Hockin was one for sure.
Yeah, all very low population and all very, small number of voters. And since there's only 3 really small counties where it won or where it lost, there is no legislative district where it lost. So, yeah, because they're in very different parts of the state. So every legislative district, I don't think there was any where it got below 55% of the vote.
It's really
yeah. And I think it's just such bullshit to then throw it back on the voters if there's going to be problems. Like, if there's problems with this, it's going to be your fault kind of thing.
Yep.
When it's like, well, you had the whole legislative session.
Mm-hmm.
There were problems to actually solve those problems and implement the law as the voters requested you to do so. And instead, they spent all their time trying to, derail it in any way possible. And so that's the part.
Yeah, which really, when you think back on that logic, it's like they did not have the best interest of South Dakota at heart with that decision, because if they did, they would be wanting to make the medical marijuana program that the voters wanted the best that it could be for the state, and they would have been working on solutions instead of spending all of their energy trying to absolutely stop it from happening.
Well, too, I mean, with, Initiative Measure 26, Amendment A, IM 22, once it passes, then the argument comes back, well, this is unconstitutional, it's badly written, so we have to fix it and make it better. But most of these initiated measures are written and out there and ready and collecting signatures for like 2 years before it even gets on the ballot. So why did I not hear any opponent, campaigning about how, hey, this bill is unconstitutional, it wouldn't be able to pass. Hey, this bill is going to end up in court because of how it's written. Never once did I hear any of that. I just heard, weed is bad. and then after it passes, then they say, well, hey, it's unconstitutional, so we just have to pick it apart. So that's something that I think would probably be more beneficial to the other side if they would just oppose it before it passes for the right reasons, or the reasons that they say are the right reasons.
Yeah.
So was possession and ingestion downgraded? Did that pass? Okay.
No, and so that's the other thing.
The Senate. It didn't pass the House.
Because that's the other thing with 1100 is that there was a Senate amendment that passed in the Senate that was decriminalizing small amounts of marijuana for medical marijuana users. And so since like the House took 1100, they passed it, they sent it over to the Senate amended it, passed it, which meant it had to go back to the House for concurrence. And that's where everything fell apart.
And I remember
take place. There was a conference committee of 3 appointed, made up of Speaker Gosh, Majority Leader Ken Peterson, and Assistant Minority Leader Representative Warren Lesmeister. Obviously,
the Senate committee was Maggie Sutton, Blake Curd, and Michael Roll.
So 2 of the senators, Blake Curd and Michael Roll, were with Warren Lesmeister in holding firm that the Senate amendments were going to go through or this bill was going to die. They stood their ground, and it took all of 15 minutes for the other 3 to break, throw their hands up, and run out screaming. And that is how House Bill 1100 died.
So was there really that much drama, Ethan, or are you just like playing this up for entertainment value?
So there's some little bit of drama inside. Mostly Speaker Gosh going But
Yeah. This is my life during session. Normally these two aren't around for Couch Caucus because, you're already on the road.
Peterson kept it cool.
but this is what inspired Couch Caucus
Yes,
to go
this
live.
was
We
the
should say
original.
that.
I was going to go on record. I just want to clarify the record real quick.
Yeah,
Couch Caucus name is credited to me.
It is.
Thank you, Brooke. Well, this whole time I've wondered where are.
That is what we called just when we would hang out on the couch together. And then I see this shit popping up on Facebook, and I'm like, hold on. So now the record's clear and I'm fine.
That's all right. This whole time I was hoping you guys would show up. I mean, I was a little bummed out that you haven't been here.
Yeah, usually we're headed back as soon as that gavel hits, but we're tired.
Yeah.
We need a day.
Why are you tired? I don't understand.
Yeah.
All right. So, maybe this would actually be interesting. Like, what is it you two do? Like, you come here during the legislative session and
a great
Amanda
question.
provides you shelter from the storm and
Yeah. So I have been at the Capitol for 3 years. I am the Senate Minority Secretary. So I kind of keep the show moving on the Senate Democrat side. And I do a lot of babysitting Troy Heinert, which is a full-time job in itself. So, I mean, that's anything from, helping write amendments, commemorations, keeping track of our interns. If you ever email Senator Heinert, it's probably me that reads it and responds to you. He gets like 3,000 emails a day. So help him, keep up with that. Just kind of driving the ship. Senator Nesbitt is in appropriations, and that is most of every day until they go on the floor. And so he is not able to listen in or be part of any testimony in other committees. So we kind of follow along with that and give him the best update that we can. And just kind of jack of all trades in the Senate Democrats caucus. So that is what I do.
We're all very curious.
He just
What I do. So I am a political consultant who had 3 Democratic candidates that we took to their final election. My partner and I took to their final election, and all 3 of them won. One of them was a primary, 2 of them were generals, 2 of them were re-elects, and the one that was a challenger is the only new Democrat in the legislature. And because she is the only one and wasn't going to have a lot of mentors, she wanted to contract with us through her first session. So we have been here helping her write legislation, floor speeches, questions for committee testimony, that sort of stuff. And probably answering several of what should be obvious questions from other House members. So.
So yeah, and they hang out with me and the cats. Yeah, it's the recycling bin is definitely.
Yes. If I can make a quick plug, our client that was the only new member, her name is Representative Jennifer Kines. She represents District 1, which is in Northeast South Dakota, and she will be holding a virtual fundraiser on the 23rd.
Oh yeah, and we will totally have to have you throw that in the comments when we can reach the keyboard, which is not right now.
It will also feature some remarks from former State Senator Jason Pierre.
I follow her on Twitter.
She's a little more spicy on Twitter than in person, so that's.
I feel like everybody's spicier on Twitter.
Yeah. This is true.
All right. So what else do we need to, what else is needing to be recapped, or do we want to ask these two about their lives in the belly of the beast?
How do you find peace?
How do I find peace?
No, I said how about your lives in the belly of the beast. But I guess how do you find peace is also apropos.
It's called whiskey, man.
So yeah. I guess I'll ask, this is kind of what I asked them. I teach a online survey of physics class, a college class. And today I asked my students, it's midterms. What's your bright spot and what sucks right now in your life? So I suppose that's a good way to kind of have you guys think about the legislative session. So what was your bright spot this session? And what was the thing that sucked the most?
Oh boy, someone else go first.
I would say my bright spot this session was the day that House Bill 1100 died, which was not that long ago. That was today. It took until the end of session. Isn't that great? No, my bright spot was when 1100 died, because my saint of a grandmother very clearly needs access to medical marijuana due to her ongoing joint issues, and that's something that I actually did care about. Should I tell the whole story for my what sucked?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
It's a good story.
This is going to be published somewhere, and I'm sure several people will see it, and I'm sure lots of people already know. So I was carrying in this was on Monday. Yeah, Monday. So it was a bad start to the last week.
So Monday felt like
carrying in a very heavy box of swag for all of the legislators from the Sisseton Chamber of Commerce, because Representative Kientz had been so nice to drive all of that from Sisseton to Pierre, and tried to set this very large box down, and apparently my thighs decided to be a little too powerful that day, and I heard a seam pop in my slacks, and they ripped all the way up the seat and to the belt loops. And I, in about a second and a half, stood up, turned around, and was face to face with Representative Will Mortensen, who
had bright orange striped underwear on.
Yep, couldn't have been wearing black.
Did he kind of have this like?
Yeah, he recoiled. He went.
Yeah, I got that look from him too the other day. I'm pretty sure it's because I sent him a really scathing email about 1217, and then he dropped his kid off for preschool at where I work and saw me sitting on the sofa. I was like,
Yeah, I've tried to bring it up before, but I don't have the courage to do it. I haven't had the courage to go and apologize to him for showing him my entire ass.
I feel like you don't need to apologize at all, Ethan. I mean, if anything, he should be the one breaking the ice to be like, nice boxers. Where'd you get those?
Oh my God. I mean, really though, that story has been one of my bright spots during session.
Honestly, yeah.
It's something Ethan will never live down. We'll be like,
nope. So folks,
remember
this is why he can be a consultant, but he's not going to be the candidate.
I was just gonna make a joke about that, like.
Not on purpose.
Well, I feel like we probably all had those embarrassing moments where something like that has happened, right? Like, I mean, that's pretty epic. But I mean,
Yeah.
I can think about the time where, you know, I had a feminine hygiene failure, like in a very massive way while I was a middle school after school program coordinator, and a male middle school student came up to chat with me, and I didn't notice that like there was a whole lot of blood going on in my pants.
Oh, that's way worse.
So after he left, and I was like, shit. I'm like, well, you know, facts of life.
Like, you go through that class in like middle school?
Oh boy,
Thereabouts?
how'd you recover from that? That's way worse than my thing ever could have
All
been.
right, that's enough from you.
No, I don't think so, Ethan.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, Brooke, did you think of a bright spot during session?
No, but actually today Amanda and I made plans for April, and so she's gonna come visit me. So that's exciting. That's all I got.
Yeah, and I mean, for those of you who might be catching us on some of the other group pages,
We're real.
yeah,
we do know each other.
We're real. We're actually friends.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ride a horse.
We're not. Yep. Yep.
Despite rumors to the contrary, I am in fact real as well.
He's not. He's a 700-year-old lizard person. He's in his like 8th or 9th skin suit now. So don't worry about it.
This one is still nice and fancy.
And really, I mean, this is what's missing, I feel like, in a lot of the political podcasts that I listen to. The really bonkers conspiracy theories, guys.
Can we have a podcast called Pod Save Pierre? I feel like that would be.
I have a podcast name already.
We do.
Yeah.
Politics, etc.
Politics, etc.
Yeah.
I feel like that.
Well, you're not privy to this decision because it's been made.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, with session closing out, we are still going to have things to talk about. We won't be doing it weekly. We'll probably be every other week or once a month or so. But Bree and I are going to be in person this Saturday outside because one, it's supposed to be like sunny and like 55 degrees, which is amazing. But two, there are petitions circulating on various issues, some of which we've talked about before. One of them is the constitutional amendment to expand Medicaid. So that petition has been circulating for a while, and I've got copies here in Pierre. So I'm going to hang out with Bree so that we can get signatures on that one. And Bree, you're collecting signatures because
I'm running for school board.
Yay!
So yes. So if you're a registered voter and live in the boundaries of the Pierre School District, come down to the park and we will happily have you sign petitions so that I can be on the ballot in June. And so we can get enough signatures also for Medicaid expansion, which is really, really important. We are also trying to get our hands on some petitions related to redistricting. I don't know that those will be here by Saturday, maybe, depending on if they got in the mail today.
Yeah, I don't know.
So another just quick comment since you brought that up. This year is an interesting year in that session is over now, and normally we kind of fall off the cliff until next January, but there are several kind of quasi sessions that'll be happening throughout the year. They have several meetings, I think 1 or 2 a month for rules review for redistricting, and then they're also going to have a special session on that in October for I'm pretty sure it's October. Anyway, at some point in the fall they will have their redistricting special session. It's in October. I read the email from Lee Schoenbeck today. Thanks. Bye. They have to have that done by December 1st. So they will be doing redistricting.
Yeah, and that petition, I did just sort of put in the request to circulate that here in Pierre, and they're apparently on 11 by 17 paper. So that's a fun one. Chris, it's in November.
Chris says it's in November.
Oh man.
He's also LOLing all over the place on Facebook.
Yep.
So, Chris, if you want to come on the show, just message me and I'll give you the link because I know you're watching.
Right now.
No, that is not suitable for work. No. Hey, I just want to make a plug for Bree to anybody who's watching currently or going to watch the recording of this later, especially if you live in the Pierre area, give her money.
Send
It costs money even to run a local school board race. Give her money, write her checks, put whatever PO box you use for your campaign.
Well, right now we'll have it just go to the Act Blue for the Hughes County Democrats, and we'll go from there. I don't have a PO box set up yet.
Yeah, and Bree, I'm super excited that you are running for school board. It's been, we don't always have our local races contested, and so it's exciting to see that happen. And we'll have candidate forums, and I've run for office before, so I've already sort of know a little bit of what it feels like, and so we can also talk about that during the school board process and the run up to the June election.
June 8th.
June 8th.
So also, if you're not registered to vote yet in this area, you can get registered to vote before then too. So yeah. So if you turned 18 the last year and you want to vote, or you thought you were registered to vote in November and realized you weren't, there's still important to show up. And who knows who's going to come out of the woodwork for the city commission too, because we have an empty seat. So we don't know who's going to run for that. And I made the decision for school board because I have a PhD in education, and I don't know what makes you more qualified than that. Besides, I also have children who are still in the district and haven't, grown up and moved out of state. And sorry, shouldn't have said that. I don't know that the current members have kids that fled the state, but it seems to be a trend. In terms of our elected officials. And so, yeah, I have a PhD in education. I've been I was a teacher for 15 years. I've taught every grade, kindergarten up through high school. I've most of my career has been teaching kids in districts that are not kind of within the dominant culture. I spent about 8 years teaching on an Indian reservation in Washington State. I taught on an island near Guam. And then I moved to South Dakota, and I taught in the Lee Deadwood School District for 5 years. Before becoming a teacher, I did a lot of youth development work. I worked in domestic violence prevention. And so I feel like I went to grad school because this is what I wanted to do. I really wanted to be able to apply that knowledge to influencing policy and change and making education more equitable and inclusive for all kids. And so I've been thinking about running for school board for a while, and I couldn't do it when I was employed by a school district. So here I am, a private citizen. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I feel like you're going to want to go back to the recording and re-listen to that so you can turn that into some of your campaign speeches.
Yes. I lost some sleep last night thinking about anticipating questions that I might get asked, especially like the, well, you're not from here question. So yeah, I guess I could put that out there because yes, I can download these and, save tidbits. So watch out, Ethan. I can edit out just that one clip.
Just send it to you.
No, I thought about this in terms of, because Amanda and I always joke about this because we joke that we're the carpetbaggers, she represents the East Coast liberal, I'm the West Coast liberal or whatever, because we just kind of get cranky about that whole reference. And the word transplant, I feel like I'm not human when I hear that word, and it just is so weird for me because it's not in the vernacular where the state I'm originally from. Even in the rural parts of the state, which I've lived in, it's just so weird. I'm just going to put that out there. And so when people use that term here to refer to somebody who is not from South Dakota, it really is kind of this othering kind of thing. And so you should probably just think about that for a little bit. But what I thought about is everybody probably has an experience where you have either belonged and what that feels. So think about a group that you really feel like you fully 100% belong to and are fully accepted. And then think about the times where you fit in and the energy you have to you expend to fit in and how different that feels from belonging. And every day in our schools, including in the Pierre public school system, kids go to school and they either belong or they fit in. And the kids who just fit in have a whole lot more difficulty being successful in school and learning because of the energy they're expending to fit in and how the emotional toll that takes. And so I feel like as a person who isn't from here, I have some perspective on that. And I guess my challenge to the voters of Hughes County and the Pierre School District is to really think about if your decisions at the ballot are not reflecting that in terms of being role models for allowing people to belong versus fit in, then what do you think is going to happen in our classrooms and with our teachers too? Because I've been in that boat too, where I'm a teacher in a school, also kind of the transplant, and never really feeling like I belonged, that I just kind of tried to fit in, and even in the community. And I thought Pierre would be a little different because it's a bigger city, but I can say most of my friends in Pierre are not from Pierre. So again, it's this very interesting dynamic, and it's kind of a challenge I'm going to put up to all the grownups out there to really think about that belonging versus fit in. And with that, I'll be done with that speech for tonight.
Yeah. It's a good speech, and isn't it? I've never sort of thought of it or thought of that before, but yeah, I've been in South Dakota for 8 years now, and it's like definitely like the folks that we end up sort of belonging with in this community are. I've honestly been here longer than some of them. I'm starting to be an old timer here in Pierre, but yeah, it's interesting how those social networks form, and then also what communities can do to be more welcoming and inclusive. And man, if Kristi Noem vetoes 1217, like if she finally like sees the light or the Amazon receipts, like I will be so happy. Like just because also like we made her have to do that. But also because that bill totally needs to die. Like, oh my God. I also felt so bad for all of them.
I can picture her doing the whole veto thing with like
she's
trying to hide it with her, be very like photogenic while she does it.
Well, because that's the thing is like, she's gonna hate to veto it. Like, she's not going to enjoy the experience.
She's going to get a whole lot of, just thinking about all the it was kind of like post-November election, like just, we could just kind of sit back with some popcorn and watch as the GOP kind of just went. And even just some of the harassment that our members of Congress have received for, it's like I can just picture what Noem's going to get with that if she vetoes too. It's going to be we don't have to put out a whole lot of effort. We could just watch them just kind of like self-implode.
Well, yeah, Well, and that's the thing too that really cheesed me off about in District 24 is Senator Duval. She voted against 1217, which yay. But then she wrote a post about why she voted against 1217 because I guess she'd been getting some comments somewhere accusing her of being a liberal because of her vote against 1217. And then she proceeded to explain how, like, essentially it was, something about the process that she didn't agree with, and the fact that it opened up South Dakota to lawsuits a la like Idaho, where the same kind of law has been enjoined by the courts. And Senator Duval said that she would have rather seen South Dakota sign on to like an amicus whatever on the Idaho, an amicus brief on the Idaho thing. Yeah, I'm an entomologist. I'm not a lawyer. Those are a lot of lawyery words that I feel like I don't quite know what they all mean. But yeah, so essentially, like Duval said that she would have rather seen us like support Idaho in discriminating against trans kids and like, wait for them to fix it and then, I guess do it right the next time. So that was annoyed me enough to think that I should just run in 2022 for the hell of it.
just to like make her kind of have to address and answer to that.
Just to like make her say those things in candidate forums. Like,
well, and what's funny is, so it's Idaho and Mississippi also have these bills, and they're almost all identical in terms of how they're written. So we can almost, be certain that they probably
Fred,
got a boilerplate
I
from
thought you
somebody.
came up with this all on your own.
Well, and
It's not
actually,
Fred's
the sponsor of the bill, she was asked about it, and that was on the public radio tonight. She made a statement about like basically using Idaho's bill because it just like that would be good if we all kind of were all on the same page, and so it's great that all these states are implementing the same exact bill.
Really take a moment though to examine that logic on medical marijuana, because that's the thing that they've been saying about medical marijuana is, like we can't, because a whole bunch of states have already gone through this process, and like some of them, it's taken 2 years, some have taken like 1.5 years, 9 months, whatever.
That were like 4, 5, 6 months.
Right. And so it's like states have done this and they've done it well. And so it's like if we can take, out of state ideas on how to discriminate against trans kids, I'm pretty sure we can take some out of state ideas on how to implement a medical marijuana program. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah, it's funny how they cherry pick the things they want from out of state versus the things they don't, because, our state science standards were written by people in South Dakota because we couldn't possibly use anything that had been written on a national scale as pushback against the Common Core. But then here we are, and they're going to totally push some kind of, propaganda that was written by some commission under the previous president regarding social studies education. So it's kind of like, well, no, it's not good enough unless it's like comes from South Dakota, unless it's like, unless Alec sends it to us.
So you should talk about it. These are nationalized curriculums. We don't nationalize curriculums here in South Dakota. What kind of bullshit is this? Local control.
Yeah.
Yes. My apologies, everyone. I am fully charged.
Oh man. Well, we are coming up on almost an hour. We will be, Bree and I will be in person in the Steamboat Park area on Saturday from 3 to 5. So wear your mask, BYO pen. We will have petitions and hand sanitizer to get some socially distanced signatures. Even though Bree and I have been vaccinated, yay science. We obviously don't want other people to get possibly sick from us because, we're not at herd immunity yet. We will not be. Was it?
We're near the band shell, right? That's where we're going to be in the park. It's easy to find us.
Yep. Hopefully it will be a nice day and all of the snow will have melted. So and then you two will be back for veto day. So who knows? Maybe if we're feeling frisky and Noam has vetoed some shit, we'll have to talk on the evening of the 29th, which would be the 28th. Time is just guys.
Yeah, maybe we need to do a outside fire if the weather is not too cold.
Yeah, who knows? It could be freezing and snow 8 inches, or it could be like 65 and sunny. I don't know.
I know. I was laughing when you were like, "It'll be 55. It'll be warm and awesome." It's like you might be in South Dakota if.
Right? Yeah. I'm like, yes. Yeah, because 55 with the right amount of sunshine is Chaco weather.
Totally is Chaco weather. What was that?
Yeah, and we'll sign. Well, Bree, I will sign your petition. These two obviously won't be here and are not in the Pierre school district. So we don't want to have any.
We can change that.
Yeah. True.
I do live here 3 months a year.
Yeah.
I get mail, so.
I was gonna say I can change my voter reg tomorrow.
Oh, I'm claiming you on my taxes. No, just kidding. Right, couch shenanigans. Oh, yep. This is great. So yeah, Bree, anything else coming up?
I can't think of anything. I guess we'll just go to every other week now, right? With the maybe, or maybe we'll, if we do that though, then we're kind of messing up if we do one for veto day. So I don't know.
Oh,
maybe we just like do a
flexible.
hiatus till veto day.
Right? Yeah, and folks can kind of keep up with us by following the Hughes and Stanley County Democrats Facebook page. That's where we stream these. So that's sort of the easiest way to follow us. And then we do have a YouTube channel as well. So Brooke and Ethan, any closing remarks? Anything you want us to keep an eye out for? Dear with glasses?
That's for beer.
Especially
And yeah, make good choices. That's all I got. Don't grow your hair out like Chris McClure.
No, the only thing I will say is make sure and regularly contact your state representatives and state senators. Just posting something angry in South Dakota Forward or whatever Facebook group, or just on your own timeline, or tweeting something is not going, to get to them, unless they're crazy like Fred Deutsch.
Tweet at Fred Deutsch.
Yeah, you can tweet at Fred Deutsch.
Tweet at him.
But call as much as you can. Don't be afraid to be angry. Those secretaries are trained to handle swearing. So don't be afraid to call, email, text, whatever. Don't let them off the hook, especially after session.
Yeah, definitely keep up with them for the whole redistricting shenanigans this year.
Yeah, you need to flood, as many people as possible need to flood those redistricting meetings, especially the field meetings. If they're scared a couple of times, things will probably come out a little differently. Fear is a very powerful motivator.
Wait, Chris, was your friend upset or was Fred upset?
So, and I want to know if that was Fred's official, representative page or his personal page, because I feel like elected officials should not be allowed to block anybody unless they're actually being threatened and harassed in a way that's, But if it's just a difference of opinion, I feel like you shouldn't be able to block anybody because it's kind of what you signed up for.
Oh, Fred was
upset. Of course, Fred was upset.
Never interacted with a candidate or maybe elected official ever on their social media, but they block you. I don't know. I wouldn't know about that.
Oh man. So yeah, get after some people. I feel like we'll definitely have to have a couch caucus about redistricting when sort of more stuff. Yeah, we'll have to get Cully in for that one.
Yeah, and maybe we can share that video, that short video that uses pennies to explain.
Oh yeah,
kind of how that's brilliant because it really and it's 2 minutes long and it just brilliantly explains how much it screws everybody over when gerrymandering happens. So, yeah. So that's going to be a big deal this year. And I guess speaking, and the final thing I'm just going to say is if you're registered Republican, just so you can vote in a primary, I just that's just not the be all end all. I really feel like you need to kind of evaluate that choice and either go independent or I don't know, but I just feel like that's just kind of a crazy reason to pick one party over another. And I'm also going to just say, if you're doing it because you're afraid of losing your state job, that's also really toxic in terms of kind of what's going on here in the state. And, really isn't okay. And so if enough people are willing to stand up and not be afraid to actually be honest about what they think, then maybe things would change. And so like Ethan said, yeah, it's not enough to just kind of be performative about your opinions on social media. You need to show up for meetings. You need to show up when there's a rally somewhere. You need to be writing letters. You need to be donating money. You got to speak up.
Yep.
And I have some uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, so we will not see you guys next week, but keep a lookout for Veto Day week. We'll have a couch caucus of some sort in there, and if you're in the Pierre area, get in touch with us, follow us, and we'll get you signing some petitions so that we can get Bree on the ballot and get some issues on the ballot in 2022. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you at the end of the month.